She slid the divorce papers across the table. Sure, I would cry. I checked my watch instead. Hurry, I said. City Hall shuts at 5. Claire froze. The pen was still in her hand, hovering over the line where she wanted my name. She had practiced this moment. I could tell. She had the speech ready, the sad eyes ready, maybe even a tissue in her pocket for me. But I didn't reach for it. What did you just say? She asked. I said hurry. I tapped the glass face of the watch, my father's watch. It's already 4. They lock the doors at 5. If we go now, we can be done today. For 3 years I had begged this woman to look at me. Now she was finally looking, and I had nothing left to say to her. Daniel. Her voice cracked, but it was the kind of crack she made on purpose. You're not even going to fight for us. There's no us, Claire. I stood up and grabbed my coat off the chair. There hasn't been for a long time. You just got the paperwork to catch up. She stared at me like I was a stranger who had walked into her house. And maybe I was. Maybe the man she married had quietly left months ago, and she had been too busy to notice he was gone. I thought. She stopped. I thought you'd ask me to stay. I know you did. That was the part that should have hurt her. She had walked into this kitchen ready to watch me break. She wanted the tears. She wanted to feel powerful one last time, to leave while I was on my knees, so she could tell herself she was the prize, and I was the one who lost everything. I wasn't going to give her that. Not anymore. Trevor's waiting for me, she said, lifting her chin. Like the name was supposed to mean something to me, like it was supposed to land like a slap. Then you really shouldn't waste time. She blinked fast. You don't even care that I'm leaving you for him. I looked at her for a long moment. 7 years, 2 jobs. The nights I drove strangers around the city until 3 in the morning, so she could chase the life she wanted. The dinners I ate alone, the way she stopped saying my name with any warmth in it, until it was just Daniel, flat and tired, like a chore she kept forgetting to finish. I cared, Claire, I said quietly. I cared more than you will ever understand. You just weren't around to see it. Something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or just surprise that the dog she expected to whimper had finally stopped barking and walked to the door. She signed her name, fast and angry, pressing so hard the pen almost tore the paper. Then she slid the whole stack toward me and folded her arms. Your turn, she said, unless you've changed your mind. I picked up the pen. And here's the thing I never told her. Here's the thing nobody knew. Sitting in that small kitchen, with the broken light over the sink, and the rent we were 2 weeks late on, I wanted this divorce more than she did. Not because I had stopped loving her. God knows that took longer than it should have. I wanted it because of the date, because of what was coming, because of a phone call I'd gotten 3 days ago that changed everything, and a piece of paper in my coat pocket that meant this little apartment, this whole tired life, was about to end for both of us. But only one of us was going to walk out of it free. She thought she was leaving a poor man for a rich one. She had no idea she was about to sign away the only thing that mattered. Daniel, she snapped. Today, please. Yeah, I clicked the pen. Today, definitely today. I signed my name, clean and steady, no shaking hand, no tears. Then I checked my father's watch one more time. 4:21. Grab your coat, I said. We've got time if we leave now. Claire stood, smoothing her dress, already somewhere else in her mind. Already in Trevor's car. Already in the bigger, brighter life she was sure she deserved. She picked up the papers and held them to her chest like a trophy. You're handling this better than I expected, she said. There was almost pity in it. I'm glad. I really am. I opened the door for her and smiled for the first time all day. So am I, Claire, I said. You have no idea how glad I am. She walked out ahead of me into the grey afternoon, the heels of her shoes clicking down the stairs. And she never once asked why I wanted to hurry. Let me take you back, so you understand why I wasn't crying. 7 years ago, Claire Whitman married me in a courthouse, with 11 guests and a cake from the grocery store. She wore a white dress she found on sale, and when she looked at me that day, I swear there was something real in her eyes. We don't need much, she told me that night. Just us. We'll build everything from nothing. I believed her. I believed her so hard it became my whole life. So I worked. God, did I work. Construction during the day, hauling lumber until my hands cracked. Then home for 2 hours. Then back out, driving my old car around the city, picking up strangers until 3 in the morning. I drove drunk college kids and tired nurses and businessmen who never said thank you. I did it so Claire could chase her dream. I got into the design program she'd told me, year 1. But the tuition, Daniel, it's a lot. I'll cover it, I said. You go be great. And she went. She got better, sharper. She started dressing nicer, talking nicer, moving in rooms I was never invited into. I told myself that was love, that carrying the weight quietly, never complaining, made me a good man. I was wrong. It just made me invisible. The first time I heard the name Trevor, we were eating cold pasta over the sink. My boss noticed my work today, she said, glowing. Trevor, he says I have real talent. He wants to mentor me. That's great, I said, and I meant it. I was happy for her. I was an idiot. Trevor Banks. I finally saw him at her firm's holiday party, the one I almost didn't go to because I'd worked a double. He shook my hand too long. He smiled too wide. His watch cost more than my car, and he looked at me like I was the help. So you're the husband, he said, like the word was funny. Claire talks about you. Says you drive, what is it, a taxi? Rideshare, I said. Right. He patted my shoulder. Honest work. Good for you, man. Honest work. The way he said it, like he was tossing a coin to a beggar. Claire laughed at his jokes all night. Not her real laugh, the big, loud one she used to give me. The new one, the one she practiced. I went home alone in my honest little car, and I sat in the parking lot for a long time. Here's the part I never told Claire. The part I never told anyone except one person. 2 years into our marriage, I met a guy named Sam at a hardware store. We got talking about an idea, a small thing, a tool, a fix for a problem nobody had solved yet. We started building it in his garage on my off days. Nights I wasn't driving, I was sketching, soldering, failing, trying again. One night, lit up with hope, I made the mistake of telling Claire. Sam and I are building something, I said. It could be big someday, a real company. She didn't even look up from her phone. That's cute, she said. A garage project. Just don't spend our money on a hobby, okay? We can't afford your little dreams right now. Your little dreams. So I stopped talking about it. I built it in the dark, where she couldn't laugh at it. For 5 more years, Sam and I poured everything we had into that hobby, and Claire never asked about it again, not once. She thought I was wasting my nights driving strangers around. She had no idea what I was really building. The night everything broke for good, I came home early. A passenger cancelled, so I had an hour I didn't expect. I climbed the stairs quietly, thinking I'd surprise her. I heard her on the phone through the door. He's working, she was saying, soft and warm. He's always working. No, he doesn't suspect anything. Trevor, stop. A laugh. The new laugh. Soon, okay? I just have to figure out how to leave him without it getting ugly. I stood in the hallway with my key in my hand, not moving. He's a good man, she said. He's just small. I want more than small, Trevor. I want what you have. I went back down the stairs. I sat in my car in the cold, and something in me went very, very quiet. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't burst through the door. I just sat there and felt 7 years of love slowly turn off, like a light at the end of a long day. The next morning, I made her coffee like always. I kissed the top of her head. I went to work. But that was the day I started counting down. That was the day I made a decision. If she wanted to leave me without it getting ugly, I'd make it easy for her. I'd make it so easy she'd never see what it cost her. People ask me how I stayed so calm when my marriage ended. The truth is, my heart didn't break the day Claire served me papers. It broke a year before that, on a Tuesday, in a hospital room that smelled like cleaning spray and old flowers. My mother, Grace, was the strongest person I ever knew. She raised me alone after my father died, working 2 jobs without ever once making me feel poor. When the cancer came, she fought it the same way she did everything, quietly, without asking anybody for help. I was there every day those last months. I'd finish driving at 3 in the morning, sleep 2 hours, and sit by her bed before my shift. "You look tired, baby," she said one morning, touching my face with a hand that had gotten so thin. "You can't carry the whole world, Daniel." "I'm fine, Mum." "You're not," she smiled. "You give, and you give, and you give. And the people you give to, half of them don't even see you." She paused. "Does she see you? You're Claire?" I didn't answer. That was the answer. Mum reached over to the little table by her bed. Her watch was there, my father's watch. Old, scratched, still keeping perfect time after 30 years. "Your father wore this every day of his life," she said, pressing it into my hand. "It only ever ran fast. He used to say it was so he'd never be late to the things that mattered." Her fingers closed around mine. "Wear it and listen to me. This is the only thing I'll ever ask you to remember." "Okay, Mum." "Never beg for a seat at a table that doesn't want you." Her eyes held mine, fierce even then. "You hear me? Don't you dare beg. Not for love. Not for anybody. You walk to a table that's glad you came, or you don't sit down at all." I promised her I would remember. She died 8 days later, just before sunrise. I was holding her hand and that old watch was ticking on my wrist, running fast, the way it always did. I called Claire from the hospital parking lot. My voice was shaking. "Mum's gone," I said. "She passed an hour ago." There was a pause on the line, music in the background, people laughing. "Oh, Daniel, I'm so sorry," she said. "That's awful. Listen, I'm at the firm's gala right now. Trevor's giving a speech. I can't really leave. Can we talk when I get home? Late, probably." I stood in that parking lot with the phone against my ear and the sun coming up. "It's my mum, Claire," I said quietly. "The funeral's Friday." "Friday's bad for me," she said. "There's a client thing. You understand, right? You know how important this stretch is for my career. Your mum would understand too." Your mum would understand. She didn't even know my mother. Not really. She'd met her twice. "Yeah," I said. "I understand." And I did. I finally understood everything. Friday came. I buried my mother on a grey morning with a handful of her old friends and an empty space beside me where my wife should have stood. Claire was at her client thing. I never even told her how it felt, standing at that grave alone in a borrowed black suit. After everyone left, I stayed. I stood over the fresh dirt and I held up my father's watch, and I let it catch the weak light. "I'm sorry, Mom," I whispered. "I let someone sit at my table, who was never glad I came. I let her sit there for years." The watch ticked in my palm, running fast, never late to the things that mattered. "I won't beg," I said. "I promise you. I'm done begging." And something in me healed and hardened at the same time. The grief didn't leave. It just finished, like a door closing soft and final at the end of a long hallway. That was the day I stopped being the man who waited up for Claire. That was the day I stopped reaching for a hand that was never reaching back. I went home. Claire came in around midnight, kicked off her heels, and asked if there was any food. "How was the funeral?" she said, not really listening. "It was fine," I said. "Good, I'm exhausted." She went to bed. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark with my father's watch, and I made my plan. I would not yell. I would not cry in front of her ever again. I would let her chase her bigger life, straight off the cliff she couldn't see. And when the day came that she handed me those papers, sure, I'd fall apart. I would check my watch, and I would tell her to hurry, because by then I'd know something she didn't, something that was about to change both our lives forever. And I had exactly 1 year to make sure she never found out in time. City Hall was almost empty by the time we got there. Our footsteps echoed off the marble floor. A clerk behind the counter looked up at us over her glasses, tired, ready to go home. Claire walked fast, papers clutched to her chest. She wanted this done. She had somewhere better to be. So did I. "We need to file these today," Claire told the clerk, "before 5. The clerk checked the clock, 4:38, cutting it close. "Fill out the front sheet and sign where it's marked. Both of you." Claire grabbed the pen first. She'd already signed her own copy at home, but there were forms here too, official ones, the kind that made it real in the eyes of the law. She filled them in fast, her handwriting sharp and impatient. "Why are you smiling?" she asked me suddenly. I hadn't realized I was. Am I? You keep checking that stupid old watch, she frowned. You've been doing it all day. It was my father's, I said. It runs fast, helps me not be late to the things that matter. It's broken, Daniel. It always ran fast because it's broken. She shook her head, almost pitying. You hold on to the saddest things. I let that one go. She didn't know what that watch meant. She never asked. That was the whole story of us, right there in one sentence. The big glass doors swung open behind us. Trevor. He strolled in like he owned the building, in a coat that probably cost a month of my rent. He clocked me, smiled that wide smile, and put a hand on Claire's lower back like he was placing a bet. Almost done? He asked her. Almost, she said, melting a little. Just need his signature. Trevor turned to me, all teeth. No hard feelings, man. Really. These things happen. You two just grew apart. We did, I agreed. He blinked. I think he wanted me to fight. Men like Trevor need you to fight, because winning only feels good if the other guy is bleeding. My calm confused him. You're taking this like a champ, he said. I respect that. I do. He lowered his voice, like he was doing me a favor. Between us, she needs a certain kind of life. A bigger life. Some guys can give that. Some guys can't. No shame in it. No shame in it, I said. The clerk slid the form toward me. Sir, your signature. We're closing soon. I picked up the pen. And here is where I had to be careful. Here is where one wrong word could have warned them. Because the date at the top of that form mattered more than anything else in the room. Tomorrow, something would happen. A phone call, a signature, a wire transfer that would change my entire life. And the law was very clear. What was mine after this divorce was final, belonged to me alone. Not to Claire, not to a single person but me. If she had waited one more day, half of everything would have been hers. She didn't want to wait. She wanted out now, fast, before it got ugly. Before she had to look me in the eye for one more week. Her impatience was the trap. I just had to not get in the way of it. You know, I said slowly. Are you sure you want to file today? We could wait a couple weeks. Take our time. No rush. I said it gently. I said it like a man who wasn't ready. Claire's eyes flashed. No, today. I'm not dragging this out, Daniel. I'm done waiting on you. If you're sure. I'm sure. She practically pushed the pen into my hand. Sign, please. Trevor smirked. He thought I was stalling because I was scared to let go. Perfect. Let him think that. I signed my name. Daniel Cole. Clean, steady, no shaking hand. The clerk stamped both copies. Thunk, thunk. She glanced at the clock. 4:52. That's it, she said. You're officially divorced. Copies will be mailed within 10 business days. She was already reaching for her coat. Claire let out a breath like she'd been holding it for years. She turned to Trevor, glowing, free. It's done. It's finally done. Told you it'd be easy, babe, he said, kissing her temple. Easy. Yes, I'd made it as easy as I possibly could. They walked toward the doors together, his hand on her back, her trophy papers in her arms. At the last second, Trevor looked back at me with that little grin, that better luck next time grin. Take care of yourself, Danny, he called. Maybe upgrade that watch, huh? I looked down at my father's watch. 4:53. Running fast. Never late to the things that matter. Then I looked up and smiled at him. Really smiled. For the first time all day. Trevor, I said, you have no idea what you two just helped me keep. He laughed. He shouldn't have. Because the next morning, my phone was going to ring. And everything was about to change. My phone rang at 9:02 the next morning. I was already awake. I'd been awake most of the night, sitting in the same kitchen, in the same chair, in an apartment that felt different now that it was only mine. Quieter, lighter, somehow. I answered on the first ring. It's done, Sam said. His voice was shaking. Daniel, it's done. They signed. The deal closed. I closed my eyes. Say it again, I said. They bought us. All of it, the whole company. He laughed, this wild, broken laugh. 6 years, man. 6 years in my garage, and now, Daniel, are you hearing me? We did it. I'm not ashamed to tell you I cried then, not loud, just quiet tears running down my face while I held the phone. Not for the money, for the nights, for every freezing morning I drove strangers around the city, for my mother, who never got to see it, for the man who believed in a little dream, while the woman beside him laughed at it. I'm hearing you, I said. I'll be there in an hour. Sam's garage didn't look like the birthplace of anything. Old tools, a space heater, a coffee maker that only half worked. But this was where it happened, where two broke guys built something out of nothing, the way Claire once promised we would, except Sam actually meant it. There was a woman waiting there with him, sharp suit, sharper eyes, a folder under her arm. Daniel, this is Linda Park, Sam said, our lawyer. She's been handling the deal paperwork. Linda shook my hand. Congratulations, Mr. Cole. Though I understand congratulations are in order twice this week, she gave me a small, knowing look. Sam tells me your divorce was finalized yesterday. 4:52 in the afternoon, I said. That's very precise. It needed to be. Linda opened her folder and laid the papers on the workbench. Then let me be precise too, because I think you already know what I'm about to say, but you should hear it out loud. She tapped the top page. The acquisition closed this morning. The shares you've held in this company for 6 years converted into your payout today. Not yesterday, today. I know, I said quietly. Your divorce was final yesterday. She looked at me over her glasses, the way the clerk had. Under the law, assets that become yours after a marriage ends are separate property. They are not part of the divorce. They are not shared. She paused. Mr. Cole, your former wife has no legal claim to a single cent of this. Not now. Not ever. Because you were already strangers on paper when the money landed. Sam stared at me. Wait. That's why you pushed so hard to file yesterday. The date. You knew. I knew, I said. How long have you known? Since the call 3 days ago. When they told us the closing date. I rubbed my face. I had to make sure the divorce went through first. 1 day off. And half of everything we built, your garage, your nights, all of it, would have gone to Claire and walked straight into Trevor's pocket. The garage was silent except for the space heater clicking. You played it perfectly, Linda said. There was something careful in her voice. She was in a hurry. You let her be. Her hurry was the only plan I had, I said. She wanted out fast, before it got ugly, so I made it easy. I even pretended to stall, so she'd push harder. I shook my head. She signed away half of everything to win an argument she didn't know she was having. Sam let out a long breath. Man, she has no idea. No, I said, she doesn't. Are you gonna tell her? That was the question, wasn't it? The moral one, the one I'd been turning over all night. I could call her right now. I could tell her exactly what she'd thrown away. Watch her face fall. Listen to her beg. After everything, the funeral, the gala, your mum would understand. The laugh she practiced for Trevor. God, part of me wanted to. Part of me wanted to make her feel one tiny piece of what I felt in that hospital parking lot. But I thought about my mother, about the watch ticking on my wrist, about a promise I made at a grave. Never beg for a seat at a table that doesn't want you. I didn't have to beg. And I didn't have to gloat either. Gloating is just begging in a louder voice. It's still asking the other person to see you, to react, to give you something. I was done asking Claire for anything. No, I said. I'm not going to tell her. Sam frowned. Why not? After what she did. I picked up my coffee. It was bad coffee. Best coffee I ever had. Because I'm going to let her find out the way I found out about Trevor, I said, slowly. On her own. When it's already too late to do anything about it. Linda almost smiled. And Trevor? I looked out the dusty garage window at the grey morning sky. Trevor, I said, is about to have a much harder year than he thinks, and I won't have to lift a finger. Because here's the thing I learned about men who build their lives on other people's money. Sooner or later the people stop paying, and the whole thing comes down. It started small, the way these things do. I heard it first from Sam, who heard it from a guy who worked near Trevor's firm. Then I saw it in the local business news. Then it was everywhere. Trevor Banks was in trouble. Not the small kind. The kind with auditors and locked offices. and a lawyer who suddenly couldn't return calls. It turned out the bigger life Trevor sold to Claire was built on money that was never really his. He'd been borrowing against deals that didn't exist, moving funds around to look richer than he was. The expensive watch, the coat, the dinners, all of it floated on debt and lies, held up by confidence and nothing else. A house of cards, and someone finally breathed on it. When the firm started digging, they found his name on things that don't have a good explanation. Money that came in and quietly went out. The kind of thing that doesn't end with a stern talking to. The kind that ends with the word, charges. I didn't do any of it. I want to be clear about that. I never made a single call, never sent a single tip, never lifted one finger against him. I didn't have to. Men like Trevor are always one bad month away from the truth catching up. I just had to wait. About 3 weeks after the divorce, there was a knock on my door. I opened it and found Megan standing there, Claire's little sister, the only person in Claire's family who ever treated me like a human being. "Hi, Daniel," she said. Her eyes were red. "Can I come in? I didn't know where else to go." I let her in and made her tea. She sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Claire had slid those papers, and wrapped her hands around the cup. "You heard about Trevor," she said. "I heard. It's bad. It's really bad, Daniel. He's losing everything. They might arrest him." She looked up at me. "And Claire's tied to all of it. They were going to buy a place together. She put her name on things, her savings, her credit." Megan's voice cracked. "She left you for a man who's taking her down with him." I didn't say anything. I let her talk. "I tried to warn her," Megan said. "Months ago, I told her something felt off about him, that he was too smooth, too perfect. You know what she said to me?" Megan laughed, bitter. She said, "Daniel's the safe choice, and safe is boring. Trevor's going places." She shook her head. "Trevor's going places, all right." "Megan," I said gently, "why are you here?" She was quiet for a moment. "Because I owe you an apology," she said. "My whole family treated you like you were nothing, like you were just the guy who paid the bills until something better came along. And you weren't. You were the only good thing in her life, and she threw you out like trash." A tear slid down her face. "I'm so sorry, Daniel. I should have said something years ago. That meant more to me than I expected. Because in 7 years, not one person on Claire's side had ever seen me. Megan saw me now, when it was too late, but she saw me. That counted for something." "It's not your fault," I told her. "You don't owe me anything." She wiped her eyes. Then she said the thing she really came to say. "She knows," Megan whispered, "about your company. The buyout. It's all over the business news too. Local startup acquired. Your name's in it, Daniel. Claire saw it. She swallowed. She knows what you built. She knows it sold. And she knows the timing." Megan looked at me, almost afraid. She figured out what she signed away. The day, the papers, all of it. I sat back in my chair, so she finally understood. Slowly, on her own, when it was already too late. Just like I'd planned. "How did she take it?" I asked. "How do you think?" Megan said. "She locked herself in her room. She won't eat. She keeps saying she didn't know, she didn't know." Megan's hands tightened around the cup. "Daniel, she made a horrible mistake, the worst mistake of her life. And I think she wants to talk to you." Right on cue, my phone lit up on the table. The screen glowed in the dim kitchen. "Claire." Megan and I both looked at it. It buzzed. Once, twice. Her name sitting there, bright and demanding, the way it used to be when I'd wait up half the night for her to come home. For 7 years, when that name lit up, I'd dropped everything. I'd answered before the second ring. I'd come running. Megan watched me. "Are you going to answer it?" I looked at the phone. Then I looked at my father's watch on my wrist, ticking quietly, running fast, never late to the things that matter. I reached out, and I turned the phone face down on the table. The buzzing kept going, muffled now against the wood. Then it stopped. "No," I said softly, "I'm not." Because there was nothing she could say that I needed to hear. But there was one thing left that I needed to say to her, and I was going to say it in person, one time, and then never again. She came to the garage on a Friday. I don't know how she found out where it was. Megan, maybe. Or the news. It didn't matter. I looked up from the workbench, and there she was, standing in the doorway where the morning light couldn't quite reach her. Claire, thinner, pale. The expensive clothes were gone, replaced by a plain coat. Her eyes were the kind of red that comes from crying for days. "You wouldn't answer your phone," she said. "No," I said. "I wouldn't." She stepped inside, looked around the garage. The tools, the space heater, the half-working coffee maker, the hobby, the little dream, all of it. "This is it?" she whispered. "This is what you were building all those nights. This is what sold. This is it." Her face crumpled. "Daniel, I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know. If you had just told me." "You'd have stayed?" I asked quietly. She stopped. We both knew the answer. If I'd told her, she wouldn't have left. But she wouldn't have loved me, either. She'd have loved the money. She'd have stayed for the same reason she chased Trevor, and I'd have spent the rest of my life being a wallet she tolerated. "Why didn't you say something at City Hall?" Her voice broke. "You stalled. You actually told me to wait. And then you let me sign anyway. You let me throw it all away. How could you do that to me?" And there it was, the blame, even now, even here. This was the moment. I could feel it. I could tell her exactly what she did to me. The funeral, the gala, your mum would understand. The laugh she practiced for another man, while I drove strangers around in the cold to pay for her dreams. I could make her drown in it. I'd earned that, every word of it. But I looked down at my father's watch, ticking on my wrist, running fast, never late to the things that matter. And I heard my mother, "Never beg for a seat at a table that doesn't want you. Don't you dare beg. Not for love, not for anybody." Gloating, I'd learned, is just begging in a louder voice. It's still asking the other person to feel something about you. And I didn't need Claire to feel anything about me anymore. I was free of that. Finally, completely free. "I didn't do anything to you, Claire," I said. My voice was calm, not cold, just done. "I didn't lie. I didn't cheat. I didn't trick you into anything. You wanted to leave. You were in a hurry. I just stopped standing in your way. I set down my tools. For 7 years, I made your life easy. I made this easy too, that's all. Daniel, please." The tears came now, fast. "I made a mistake, the worst mistake of my life. I see that now. I see you now." "I know you do," I said. "Now, when it's too late." That stopped her. Because it was the same thing she'd said to me, in a different shape, the day my mother died. "You were so sure I'd cry," I said softly. "That day you handed me the papers. You wanted to watch me fall apart. You had a tissue ready, didn't you?" She didn't answer. She was crying too hard. "I did cry, Claire," I said. "I cried until I had nothing left. 3 years ago, in a hospital parking lot, the morning my mother died, while you were at a party. I picked up the watch's worn leather strap between my fingers. You just weren't home for it." The garage was silent. She had no answer. There wasn't one. I walked past her to the door. At the threshold, I stopped, but I didn't turn around all the way. "I hope your life gets better," I said, and I meant it. I really do. "But it won't have me in it. That seat's been empty a long time, Claire. I'm just the last one to admit it." I stepped outside into the afternoon. The sky had finally cleared. Sam was pulling into the lot, music playing, waving at me through the windshield, a whole bright future idling in a beat-up car. I checked my father's watch one last time. 4:59, almost 5 o'clock, the hour everything used to end. I smiled. For me, it was finally just beginning. I walked toward the car, toward the life I built in the dark while no one was watching, and I never looked back at the woman in the doorway. She was sure I'd cry. I didn't. I'd already done my crying, and I'd never have to do it for her again.